Hello, friends, and welcome to the Handyman Success Podcast. Our mission is to teach and inspire by sharing the stories and insights of our guests. Whether you're a prospective, new, or seasoned handyman business owner, you will learn practical business tips you can apply today and be inspired that you can reach your goals and create a better tomorrow. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Call, owner of Handyman Marketing Pros. We equip small, family-owned handyman businesses with modern websites and SEO to help grow their businesses online. I'm joined by my co-host, Alan Lee, who has built his handyman business to a point where it runs without him. He now teaches others, step by step, how to do the same thing through his Handyman Journey business coaching. You can learn more about our marketing and coaching services by scheduling a call with us on handymansuccess.net. So whether you're patching drywall, sitting in the office, or making your third run to Home Depot, we invite you to pull up a chair and sit with us on another episode of the Handyman Success Podcast.
Hello, friends. Today we are joined by someone you may have heard of. His name is Alan Lee with Honestly Handyman Services. He's been on our show at least one time before. Obviously, I'm joking. He's my co-host here on the Handyman Success Podcast. Today we are revisiting with Alan. If you haven't heard our first episode talking about Alan and his business, definitely check that out. It's been a few years, so we thought we'd revisit his business and his experiences that he's been through, learning opportunities, all that good stuff from growing his handyman business. But all that being said, Alan, thanks so much for joining me. Again, if you don't mind, give our listeners a little snapshot of who you are, where you're at, and about Honestly Handyman.
Well, Jason, thanks for having me on the Handyman Success Podcast. I've been listening to you guys for years. It's an honor to be on here. Yes, so if you guys don't know me, my name is Alan Lee. I started up my business, Honestly Handyman Services, here in the Sacramento area of California. I started up August of 2016, part-time. Did it part-time for a couple months and then went full-time January 1st, 2017. Since then, I've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, and we'll talk about those today. Just last year, in 2024, I had my worst month ever and then my best month ever in the same year. So it's been a lot of ups and downs, but right now we've grown our business where we currently have 5 employees. We've been upwards. We've had the most of 6 employees at one time, but it's been up and down. So that's kind of where we're at now. We got 2 technicians out in the field. We got another guy that started as a tech assistant, and we're training him right now to become a technician. So that's exciting. We got a lot of other stuff in the mix. One of our technicians we're working on, hopefully bringing him into the general manager and estimator role. So we got 2025 is looking like it's going to be pretty awesome. I'm an optimistic person by nature, so I have some good feelings about 2025 and just kind of where we're heading.
Awesome. So let's just dig right into the team structure, man. So my first question is, like, when did you know, at what point did you know you had to bring somebody on? What was that role? And then also, if you had to do it all over again, because you've now had a team of 4 to 6 people now for at least a couple years, and so you've had a lot of experience in learning of hiring, the team structure, what works, what doesn't. But I guess initially, like, what was your first hire? How did you know you needed to make that hire? And if you had to do it again, like, how would you advise someone who's getting that point? Like, what should they look for in their first hire?
Yeah, so my first hire was a CSR, someone to answer all my phones and stuff. And it kind of came out of a place of necessity. That was back in late 2018. You know, I had been in business now, I guess it was for about 2 years. And I was busy. Like, I was rocking and rolling. We had you on for our marketing. Little plug, if you guys don't use Handyman Marketing Pros, check him out. Jason does a fantastic job with marketing, SEO, websites. But we had you doing our marketing, and man, the phones were blowing up. We were booked out for like a month. I remember at one time we were booked out for 2 months. And I was so busy, like, and I'll say it right here live on the podcast. People would call me all day and I would not answer it because I was, like, you know, fixing a shed, right? I was working, I was making money. And then at night I'd be like, oh, I don't want to answer. I don't want to return these calls, you know, because I'm tired. I want to spend time with my family. And then 2 days would go by and I'm like, oh crap, I need to call that person from 2 days ago, but I don't want to call them. I don't want to call them back because that'll make me look like a loser because I haven't called them in 2 days. And then a week goes by and then that same conversation in your heads of like, I don't want to call that person back because I haven't called them back in a week. They're just going to think I'm a extreme loser. This just kept going on and on until one night I was on Facebook and it was the local Facebook community group and someone had someone asked for a handyman. So someone else recommended Honestly Handyman. So I'm like, wow, this is great. People are recommending us. Well, here's a tip. Don't read the comments. I read the comments. I got deeper into the comments and deeper into the comments. I saw a comment that said, don't call Honestly Handyman. He doesn't call you back. And I'm like, that was like a gut check because I'm like, they're right. I can't argue with them. I haven't called people back in probably a month, maybe 2 months. I just don't, right? I hand pick, I cherry pick. I'm like, this seems like a good job. I'll call that guy back, but I don't call the other people back that have the weird word. So I realized quickly that I needed to hire someone to answer the phones because I just couldn't do it. And I quickly plugged into Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited, which is an absolutely fantastic book. If you haven't read that book and you're interested in hiring people, read Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited. Absolutely fantastic. And basically I took that book and I dissected it and like made it fit my business. And I created systems and processes for what I call a CSR, a customer service relations personnel. And it was kind of a crazy thing it was like a godsend of the person that God brought to our company to be that CSR. So yeah, this year will be our CSR 6th year with our company, and it's been absolutely fantastic. She answers all the phones, answers all the emails. She handles all of that, which is absolutely amazing. And it's really been a really interesting thing for me hiring that person because I didn't really know what I was getting into. But it totally freed up my headspace to focus on other aspects of the actual business. So instead of working in the business, I was able to start working on the business. And one thing, I wasn't worried about all those phone calls and answering and replying and all things like that. So the next person I was able to hire was a technician. Then we were able to hire an estimator. Then we were able to hire a technician assistant. And it kind of just rolled from there. But I would say for me personally, if I could go back and do it again, I would have hired my CSR a lot sooner than I did. I hired her 2 years in, but I needed her much before that. That doesn't always work for everyone though. I mean, I run a coaching business where I coach handymen and there's many ways to skin a cat. Some people, their first hire is a CSR and it needs to be. Some people, their first hire is a technician and some people's first hire is a technician assistant. It really depends on, like in the book, The E-Myth Revisited, they talk about what do you suck at and hire for that. So if you suck at calling people back like me, that's what you need to hire for. If you could use some help, if you struggle going to Home Depot, picking supplies up, and you just need kind of a gopher to help you be more efficient, hire there, right? If you're good at everything else and you just need someone to kind of do the actual work for you, hire that person. So it's kind of a convoluted answer of who you should hire first, but I think at the end of the day, you got to figure out what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And I think maybe some people struggle seeing that is you just need to be real with yourself and be like, I suck at this. You know, I mean, it's hard to say, especially as a man, but like, if you suck at it, you suck at it. Just own it and hire someone to do that job. So that's what I would recommend.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for breaking that down. I know the first hire is going to be different based on every business owner and what their skills and strengths are. I'll say for most people, at least in my experiences and conversations, that CSR, that office assistant, is a great first hire to stay better or more on top of the admin tasks, quick replies, answering the phone. Also, inherently, when you're answering the phone and calling people back quickly, getting back to them faster, you're going to get more jobs on the books because that speed to lead, like the quicker you can get back to somebody, is a tangible thing. So I think for most, I'd lean towards that CSR, the helper. I think those are the two most common. So one other thing I wanted to rewind back on is that internal psychological anxiety of like, oh, it's been 48 hours, it's been 2 days. Like, I'm such a loser. I'm worrying about calling this person back. And then you don't. And then you keep thinking about day after day after day until, you just let it go in an unhealthy way, I think. So I love the realness of that, Alan. Thank you for sharing. I've had that myself. Certainly over the last 7-8 years in business, you get those calls that you miss, and you're like, oh, I got to call this person back. I will tell you that I always think back to when I was like a teenager in school or whatever, and you're calling that girl that you want to talk to, and you're nervous. You're just like so nervous, and you just got to click the call button, man. Just suck it up. Make the phone call. It's not going to be as bad as what you build it up in your head. So anyway, all our listeners out there, I just encourage you guys to don't overthink it. Just make the phone call. It's not going to take much of your time, and you're going to feel a heck of a lot better after you do it. You're going to feel more peace, more confidence in being a good business owner. And any other thoughts on that kind of overthinking things in your head, Alan? I think that's a great point that a lot of people struggle with.
Definitely. And I want to self-promote a book that I wrote last year, The Handyman Freedom Formula. It's a mindset and company culture. I'd recommend you guys check it out because it really breaks down my whole mindset and how I think you need to establish your mindset as a handyman. Because there's a lot at play. And I think one of the biggest things for me just starting out and kind of moving more into business was being afraid, is really a fear of man, of like being afraid of my clients and not wanting to deliver to them bad news or the wrong news because I need that work, right? So one of my biggest fears was people would come to me and be like, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this. Well, I do number 2 and 3, those are piece of cake. But number 1 is, that's a hard one. I'm not sure how to do that. I've never done it. And so you get this like mental anguish of feeling like you have to do number 1 so that you can do number 2 and number 3. And so you try and do number 1 and you fumble at it. You lose a lot of money at it, where it's like you shouldn't have even taken the job on in the first place. Where I've come to realize that clients are calling us because we're the experts in the industry. We're the experts in the field. They're calling us to get the best advice that they could get. And so I've just plainly just started telling people the way it is. And people actually really appreciate it. Like, hey, we can do number 2 and number 3 for you. No problem. We do those all the time. But number 1, that's not really in our expertise. But I have this guy that I would strongly recommend for it. That's one thing that I didn't have at the beginning was a good referral list. A good referral list will help you so much. Just connect with other tradesmen in your area. And just like here's my mock sheet right here, right in front of me. And I have it all kind of narrowed down a little bit more in depthly in the computer. But when people call up and they need a plumber, electrician, whatever it is, I can refer them right there. And don't be afraid to tell them that you can't do this aspect of the job, but you can do this other stuff.
I think it reinforces too that level of professionalism in acknowledging what you can do, and just with as much clarity acknowledging what you can't do. I think that instills a lot of confidence in the client of like, oh, well, they know their boundaries and they're sticking to that. And I think that's very commendable and respectable for any professional. So, and one other thing, our handyman actually has the same list of referrals, and it's like this handwritten thing that he photocopied. Can you make it look more professional? Absolutely. I live in a small rural town, so it is what it is. But that base layer of just like a photocopied handwritten referral list is so gold for us, and it gets to the source of who we really trust our handyman, and so we really trust who he's referring to us, and also just reminds us of how much we appreciate and love our handyman because we've got this referral list that he gave to us. So there's just a lot of value in having quality referrals. So kind of sticking to the team, man. So you've got yourself that is doing a lot of the sales right now, and I know you guys are hiring a general manager here in the next few months. I'd love to dig into that, but just to recap, we got you at the sales head right now. You've got 2 full-time technicians, a technician assistant. I think a lot of people in the industry call it a helper. And then you've got April, the CSR, customer service, a lot of the back-end admin work. What, like using that team, like what kind of digging into the services that you guys are doing, like what's your bread and butter? Like honestly, like what services are you prioritizing, and that over the years you, from your experience, like have landed on doing these kind of services?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I think I talk to tons of handyman all the time through coaching and consultation calls. And I think that's the biggest thing is like people spread themselves too thin, and so much so that they can't get good at really one thing because they're doing a little bit of everything. It's like, well, we're handyman. That's what we do. It's like, yeah, but also no, and so I think drawing that line and coming up with an actual, like, what type of work do you want to do? What type of work are you good at? So I used to work in the automotive industry, and they used to call all the oil changes and tire rotations and like the transmission fluid flushes the gravy work. That's the gravy work. Like, that's the stuff that you can just bang out. And so in that, I realized, I'm like, man, this gravy work is in and out. Like, they're getting cars in. You can work on 20 cars in a day doing this gravy stuff. But you get one car in that you got to swap an engine out of, man, you're into that thing for a few days. And so as I kind of grew into my own business, I kind of took that same kind of methodology and applied it of like, the longer I'm at a house, like, really there's more potential for stuff to go wrong. Because as you're pulling a motor out, like, of a car, right? You're pulling it out and, you nicked the wiring harness. And it's like, oh man, now I got to replace the wiring harness. Or you snap a power steering line or whatever it is. Like, it adds to the thing where if you're just doing a transmission flush, you're in and out. You're making your money, you're getting out of there. So we focus on the gravy work in the handyman industry. So things like light fixtures, ceiling fans, dishwashers, garbage disposals. We don't really get into remodels. The biggest things that we do are pre-hung doors and attic ladders, because they're still fairly in and out. There's still some kind of complexity sometimes, but by and large, the most profit is found in those smaller jobs that you could get in and get out and not bring materials for. So if you could do a ceiling fan, that's just a quick wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're making money. So that's kind of what we focus on. And I also find that it's a lot easier to train individuals on those smaller items than it is to train them on doing a whole bathroom remodel from start to finish. There's a few other things that play into that because here in California, we do have like limit laws where we can't charge a certain amount for the work that we're doing. So, by focusing on those smaller stuff helps us stay within that law. But I think, the opportunity has come up many times to get a contractor's license. And I'm just not really that interested in it because I don't want to do anything bigger than what I'm doing. We found a lot of good success doing the small maintenance style stuff.
Cool. So you mentioned, I'd like to drill into these kind of focus services, whether, your team enjoys them and you find them, they're profitable jobs. So pre-hung doors, attic ladders, ceiling fans. What other services come to mind that you would recommend other handyman businesses to really focus on, based on your experience?
Yeah. So, like I said, the in and out stuff, ceiling fans, light fixtures, faucets. You could get into shower cartridges. That's not a big deal. But if you get into like the big stuff, like even just someone wants the trim replaced on their shower, right? It doesn't seem very hard. We're just gonna update the trim, right? So like the shower handle, the spigot, and the shower head, not a big deal, right? But come to realize that they're gonna get this kit that doesn't fit their cartridge, right? So you're driving all the way out. Let's say you drive 15 minutes to their house, right? You unload all your stuff, you open up their kit, you take off the old part on their shower, you try and put the new trim that they bought on it just to find out it doesn't fit. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to charge the client? Most people aren't going to pay for that. Like, you didn't do anything. So you're going to have to put the old stuff back on. You're going to have to box up the stuff. Hey, client, this is the wrong stuff. You're going to have to drive 15 minutes back to your house and you didn't make any money. So if you can be more confident of like, okay, I'm just going to go swap this ceiling fan out, that's where the money is. So I think those are predominantly the services that I would recommend. And we also do like fence repair. Those are fairly straightforward, like just a post, just a panel. We do gates, building just a gate. So kind of the smaller, intricate, like I have a thing of like estimating. If I can't wrap my head around the estimation, like within 5-10 minutes, I don't really want any part of it. It's probably too complicated for me to take on.
I think that's a good rule of thumb. Like that whole, is it going to take me longer than 5 to 10 minutes to get a good estimate where I can be confident in my profit in this job? Two other questions I've got for you for related directly to services, because this is a question topic we're trying to cover more on the podcast. People ask, well, what kind of services are the best for me to offer? So we're trying to ask these questions from our guests now. Thank you to our listeners for feedback. Always, please feel free to let us know, like what kind of stuff you'd like to hear about. We're open to your feedback. So regarding your services, one question. I'm going to give you two here, so keep up with me, man. One is, what are you doing to make sure your leads and your clients know your focus services to kind of cross-sell? So someone might call you about a ceiling fan, but how are you making them aware of your other breadth of services that you could help them around their home? So that's the first question. And actually, that's a thicker one. So I'll save the second one until we get through with that. So what are you doing to cross-sell and promote your focus services and dissuade people from, the ones that you might not do or just aren't interested in doing?
Yeah. So, it kind of starts with your whole brand. I think that marketing is branding. And so, like, I was talking to a guy the other day that and I go off on tangents. So if this doesn't directly answer your question, I'm sorry. But I was talking to a guy the other day that he does a lot of bathroom remodels. And I'm like, well, do you want to do bathroom remodels? He's like, no, I don't. I want to do the smaller stuff, but people just keep calling me for bathroom remodels. And I'm like, okay, well, what does your branding look like? Like, what's your marketing? He says, well, I post pictures on Facebook and, on Google and, this and that. And, well, I'm like, this is what you got to do. Like, you don't want to post pictures on Facebook saying, look at this beautiful bathroom remodel we just did. Because then more people are going to hire you for that beautiful bathroom remodel. Instead, you want to post pictures, take that one bathroom remodel job and break it down into 20, 30 pictures. Take a picture of just the bathroom faucet, just the bathroom mirror, just the toilet paper holder, just the toilet, and say, look at this beautiful faucet that we just replaced. Look at this beautiful mirror that we just replaced. Look at this beautiful toilet paper holder that we just replaced. So it's the persona. So you're putting out a persona of, we do these small jobs, right? This is what we do. We are experts in the small job. So that's like the front end. That's how you create the branding and the marketing. You post things that are appropriate to what you do and what other people want. If you want to start getting into bathroom remodels, start posting pictures about that. If you want to get into replacing faucets, start posting pictures about that. And then on the back end, what we do is we have a 22-point home maintenance inspection. And I kind of got this from the automotive world too, because like I said, I used to be an auto mechanic. And every car that comes in, you do a 22-point inspection on it or a 44-point inspection on it, whatever the shop that you're in has. And you're checking the oil, you're checking the tire pressures, you're checking the brakes, you're checking the training fluid, all this stuff. And so it's similar to that of like, when we go to a client's house, we say, hey, can we do this 22-point inspection? And we're going to check your angle stop. We're going to check the kitchen faucet. We're going to check your caulking around your house, et cetera. And so this is good for that maintenance inspection, but it's also good to hand the client of like, these are the services we do. Another interesting idea, something that we don't implement, but it came up on our Handyman Academy coaching call the other night, which I thought was really fantastic. I had never even thought about this. When I was in college, my buddy used to own a plumbing company, and I would go out with him just in the nights and weekends just for fun. Like, he wouldn't even pay me, and we would just go do plumbing service calls. I just thought it was really fun. We'd be climbing under houses, breaking pipes and fixing them. It was just crazy. Well, when he would get to a client's house, he would say, okay, this is the job we're going to be doing, and we're going to go work on this. And here's my price book. I want to leave this with you on your counter. This is all the work that we do with the prices attached, and sure enough, every single time before we finish, the client would be like, oh, you do this. We actually have that part here. Can you install this? Like, it's just such an amazing upsell technique that we don't implement, but it's a really interesting idea. So I think just making your clients aware that you do small stuff and that you don't do big stuff. So when someone does call you for a job that you don't want to do, straight up tell them like, hey, we don't do that, but I can refer you to this guy. Did that answer your question, Jason?
Yeah, and I'm going to flesh out a little bit more because the 22-point home inspection that you offer to your clients for free when your estimator goes out or when technician's on the job, and this is something I share with a lot of people that I talk to, is that you've got it on a nice brochure. So I'm a huge advocate, and Alan does this well, is any house you walk into, whoever you're talking to, have something physical to hand them. If you're watching on YouTube, Alan, or if you pull up this episode on YouTube, Alan's got his brochure that he has up. Beautiful family photo. Looks like you got to get that one updated, buddy.
I know I got a third kid now.
But it's a personal brochure. It's got a family photo. It's got team photos. It's got about his company, and it's got his home maintenance inspection checklist with little boxes in there. And so it makes aware to the homeowner the breadth of services that Alan offers, but not only just offers, but these are the jobs on this inspection list that Alan wants to get calls for. And so promoting your focus services, it's not a one-time flip of the switch and you're going to be getting ceiling fan replacements out the wazoo. Branding and marketing is a long-term process. And so by having these brochures that go out to everybody, having it on your website, putting the photos on Facebook, social media, over time, you're building reputation and awareness for all of your focus services. So I recommend everybody, whether you're brand spanking new, you're well established, if you don't have a nice personal brochure or team photos, family photo, make it personal. Personality is an advantage that small business owners have. It builds trust with people. And when we have trust, it increases the likelihood that they're going to give you guys a call for your focus services. Just make the whole transaction easier, reduce price sensitivity. So be personal, invest in a nice brochure. Alan, I use that I've got images of your brochure that I'll send to people because it's just perfect. So highly recommend whatever services you want to be focusing on, take an honest look at your marketing and your print materials to start prioritizing those and making your clients aware. So thank you, Alan, for sharing all that, man. My last question on your focus services is, when you compare where you are now with having 5-6 people that work for you, you're just doing sales at this point, about to hire the general manager. How has your service offering changed from when you were owner operator, maybe after you had CSR, maybe a helper? What did you learn from being smaller to now having multiple technicians that prompted you to be way more focused on your services? You could almost call this, what is your service offering journey? Like what are the bigger factors that have changed and transformed your services throughout your 7-8 years experience now in the industry?
Yeah, this is something I love talking about, and something that we teach a lot in our coaching program is building systems, right? And the way that you build systems is by living systems. And the way that I used to kind of sell stuff and do jobs was like for my own benefit and gain, was just like, oh, I could do that. Let's do it. Let's do it, daddy. Let's get it, And I would just be doing some like, I remember, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, but I had a Handyman Willog, which everyone hated. Some people hated that name. Like, why you keep saying Willog? It's just because it was fun. I love pissing people off. So Willog stands for a work log. And I used to make YouTube videos of every single handyman job that I did. And I got those live on the Handyman Journey YouTube channel if you want to watch them. But one time, this client that had a bunch of other work for me, it was kind of one of those things of like, I don't want to say no to this job because I don't want to lose the rest of it, but also a little bit of, I'm curious, right? So he had this hole that this plumber had cut and shipped out of his driveway to put in a clean out. And he said, can you pour concrete in that? And I told him, like, to be honest with you, I've never poured concrete in my life other than a fence post. So I don't know, but I think I can, And so I posted on the Handyman Journey Facebook group. I did a bunch of research, watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I actually recorded myself doing this. There's actually a vlog of me doing this. And it turned out okay. There was obviously stuff I did wrong. And the YouTube commenters definitely let me know about it, that I did stuff wrong. And that was okay. It's a learning experience. But if you're doing stuff like that, that's not duplicatable. That's not a system. So if you want to create a system to hire people, you need to do stuff that anyone can do, not just you. So if you're really good at painting, but the majority of people just aren't, maybe you don't want to lean so heavily into painting because that's not duplicatable. That's not a system. So I think that's how my sales journey has changed, where it's like, I've had to get more strict on like, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. We could do that, but we don't, because if I did that, it would take my technician a lot longer to like train with our company to learn how to do that specific job. Like training someone to do a bathroom remodel, right? There's a lot of different pieces into that, and you could do it. And if you do that, I'm not knocking you, right? But that just doesn't work for who we are. And you got think about all that training that goes into that technician. Whereas if you just have a ceiling fan, a light fixture, a faucet, it's a heck of a lot easier to just throw someone in there and teach them real quick how to do it. So that would be how my sales has transformed. And it really all started with that story of reading, the E-Myth Revisited and getting my CSR and really learning what it meant to create systems and processes of like, hey, I can't be here working at a client's house till 10 p.m. because that's not duplicatable. I can't hire someone to do that. No one's going to want to work with me if I have to work on a job every single day until 10 p.m. Like, that's not going to happen. So one huge thing that was hugely related was setting a time from 8 a.m. to 4:30. That's it. That's when I work. I get off at 4:30. Because if you work every single night till 10, no one's going to want to work for you because it's an insane job. You've created a job for yourself, not a business. So I think just wrapping your brain around what systems a business can do rather than just a job. Because this isn't a job. If you want to grow it, you got to stop thinking like it's a job. You got to start thinking like it's a business and stop thinking that you're going to be doing the work. Someone else is going to be doing the work. And what can they do? And what kind of liability do you want to take on? If you are fine going on a 3-story building cleaning the gutters, right? That's fine for you. But are you ever going to find an employee that wants to do that? That's a serious question you got to ask yourself. And maybe you should stop selling 3-story gutter cleaning if that's the case,
Yeah, great advice, man. And I'd love to let's dig into this one a little bit more, because I feel like if we can help one person create a better work-life balance, then this will all be worth it. I personally have had an amazing transformative experience years ago now of just being strict about my work hours. When we're open, when we're closed. We don't work on the weekend, for example. What would you say, like someone that's answering the phone and returning calls like 7, 8 p.m., they're going to the job site Saturday afternoon, Sunday, after the kids' ball game, whatever it may be. Like, what was your experience like when you got more serious about your hours? Did you see your business fall down into the hole?
No, actually, I saw it go the other way, is if you don't respect your time, no one's going to respect your time. You got to respect yourself first. Like one of my business coaches says that business growth follows personal growth. And if you're not growing as an individual, if you're the same person that you were back in February of 2024, who's to think that your business is ever going to grow? Because a growing business requires a growing leader. And the business doesn't grow and then the leader grows. No, the leader needs to grow and then the business grows. So I think just getting more it's getting more serious about life. And to be honest, I was not serious about life. I mean, there's still some things I'm not serious about. I'm still working on that. But like there's been huge changes that have happened in my life. And one of those was starting a business and understanding that, oh, okay, I got to provide for my family. This is it. Another one was when I had my first daughter. That was huge life changing. Another one was when I was dealing with some addiction in my life and I had to confess that to my wife and we had to deal with that. Like there's been some huge pivotal moments in my life that have really made me kind of like pull my pants up and become a man, and that's really what happens when you set a work-life balance is like, no, there's other things that are more important than just work. And the biggest things are faith and family, like just massive. And if you're constantly missing church with the rest of your family, is it worth it, to go out and make $200? Like you got to think about like, what's the point of life? I mean, when you're however old, 80, 90, 100 years old, however long you live, like you're going to die. Just face it. Everyone's going to die. Right? What are your kids going to say when they're at your deathbed? Are they going to show up to your deathbed? That's a heck of a question, and I think that right now we're building the futures that we want to live into. And it starts with the little decisions that we make every single day. Are we going to wake up at 6 a.m. and go to church for men's prayer? Are we going to do that, or are we going to sleep in? Right? Some days you got to sleep in. The kids have been sick. It's just crazy, right? But sometimes you just need to step up and make it happen. And at the end of the day, life is not all about business. I don't know if that answered your question at all, Jason, but I'll get off.
Yeah, do it. You touched on a lot of good stuff there, man. I would certainly encourage anyone that feels like they're working way too much, too late, too early, too long, too many weekends. When you create your own boundaries, your ideal clients, they're gonna understand. Like, oh, of course, they're not gonna call me back at 6:30 at night, and maybe your ideal clients probably are not calling at 6:30.
Yeah.
And so you create a marketing and a business structure that attracts your ideal clients. But I do encourage anyone out there that has those negative feelings about the time that they're putting in, the hours, that just put up some guardrails for yourself, and you will be pleasantly surprised at how your business does not go down. In fact, I believe that it will go up because it creates more focus. It creates boundaries with yourself, your family, your clients. Sticking with a regular business hour routine is absolutely critical. Obviously, life has its phases. Life has seasons. There's going to be a couple weeks where you got to grind it out. There's more jobs coming in, bigger jobs, whatever it may be. Internal system improvements. You're hiring somebody, and you just need to put more hours into it. That's totally normal and fine. Business and life has seasons, but create that consistency of like 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, whatever that looks like for your business. Do not get stuck into that grind of 68 hours a week. If having no constraints, you will burn yourself out. So my biggest encouragement and assurance for anyone is that when you put up those guardrails, you are going to give yourself so much peace, a lot more space to develop yourself. And your ideal clients are going to totally understand. If someone does not understand why you won't come out there on Sunday afternoon or return their call at 8 p.m., then they've just pre-qualified themselves as probably not a good client. They're probably going to be very price sensitive, not reasonable. So please do create some boundaries for yourself and your business that will kind of fertilize a soil, if you will, to promote growth, whether it is just more profitability as an owner-operator in a smaller shop or growth in hiring and expanding your business. You need to have those boundaries in place for a healthy work-life balance. Your business is only as healthy as the leadership. So thanks for sharing all that, Alan. I'm glad we kind of dug into that one because I know a lot of people struggle with just that. And again, it's a normal part of business and starting one and kind of that initial grind, that hustle, but don't make it a normal part of life.
All right, friends, that's a wrap of this episode of the Handyman Success Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on your journey in building a thriving handyman business. We would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Whether you learned something new or you're facing challenges that you're just not quite sure how to deal with, we would absolutely love to hear from you. We would love it if you would leave us a review, drop us a comment, or hit that like button telling us that you liked this episode. By doing this, you truly help and support us in creating more of these podcast episodes to help change the handyman industry to something amazing. And I want you to remember that you are not alone on this journey. Jason and I are here to help. If you need anything at all in regards to business or marketing, you can reach out to either Jason or I at handymansuccess.net. You can go over there right now and set up a free consultation call with either of us. We would absolutely love to talk with you. So thanks again for spending this time with us. And until next time, go out and be a blessing.